We're looking at WWF Unforgiven Way, a show that I feel I know more than any pay-per-view event in history by this point. Took place September the 26th, 1999, from Charlotte, North Carolina, the Charlotte Coliseum Way. And, you know, a lot of people always say, what did Freddie Blassie do in the late 90s? And for a lot of people, I mean, he was a well-known performer in California, came into Vince McMahon Sr.'s territory as a manager, bit of a presence during the expansion, and then was largely retired and kept on the payroll. But Way, he was very busy doing voiceovers, and I laugh because we've had this conversation 85 times today. And that he was in the opening of Survivor Series 98, and he was also used for the voiceover of the opening of this pay-per-view, Unforgiven, where he was reciting the famous prayer, the Our Father, along with a woman who was supposed to resemble, I guess, a witch of some sort. Great opening to the pay-per-view.
Yes, John. I feel these are very sleek opening packages, and you know what? I'm not sure why they don't do them anymore.
I guess they just, who knows? God, this podcast, everyone, it may be amazing or it may be shit. There will be no in-between on this.
This is the third time we've had the exact same conversation.
You can't react naturally to stuff you know is coming. It's like watching SmackDown when you've read the spoilers. Only instead of reading the spoilers, you've watched the show and now you're watching it again. Now we go to the actual pay-per-view Way, which we've talked about Nestle Crunch, Oxy, Pimple Cream. This one was brought to us by Magic the Gathering, which was one of my obsessions when I was a young kid. From the ages of 12 through 13, I was a huge Magic card player.
Really? How big of a fan were you of
Well, Way, one Christmas I asked for a box of Magic cards, the Ice Age set. Mm-hmm. Now, this was like the big Magic card set at the time, and I asked for a box. It came with 36 packs, and each pack had 10 Magic cards in them. So my parents got me a Magic card set there of the Ice Age set. And as I went to open them, my brother picked one pack and he set it aside for me to open last. So I opened up all of them. I got an Icy Manipulator in there, which everyone recalls. I think it was valued at about $10 at the time.
No, I don't recall.
Went through all of the packs, and then I opened that last pack that my brother set aside. And you know what was in it, Way? Magic fans will know what I'm talking about when I say the words Jester's Cap, which was valued at about $34.95 at the time, much like a old WWF pay-per-view. And this was the most powerful card in the Ice Age set. It allowed me, Way, to play it, and I could go through your deck and discard any 3 cards of my choosing from your library. And it was called Capping Your Ass. And it was the last pack. Of all the packs that my brother set aside, he picked the one with the most valuable card. And that was my favorite Magic card memory.
And is that perhaps your most nerdiest memory that you have?
Not even in the top 10, but getting that, it was an artifact, Jester's Cap.
Oh, well, thank you, John.
Anyway, Magic cards lending their name to the Unforgiven pay-per-view. We start off with Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler at ringside announcing that tonight a new WWF champion will be crowned. And I had to check my tape, Way, to make sure it wasn't the 98 Survivor Series we reviewed last week. Exact same concept for this show.
Yes, you're right. It's the same thing.
We had a storyline where the referees were on strike, Way, and they were outside picketing outside of the Charlotte Coliseum. Does this mean that the referees were unionized?
You know what? I guess it would be. The referees were on strike because of their continuous assaults from the wrestlers. If they can strike, I guess that means...
How long did it take the referees, if they were unionized, to finally strike over, being, harm in the workplace? Mm-hmm. How long have referee bumps been going back for? Finally, they stand up and are appalled at this?
Oh, I guess it would be about time. Yeah.
This was a dumb storyline, one that I actually forgot prior to watching this pay-per-view because...
Well, name me one storyline in this whole show that you think was a good storyline.
Well, we'll have to go through them, and maybe we'll get to them. Okay. Maybe we'll find one. Opening match, Way, Val Venis, sporting quite the physique.
Yeah.
Wow. This guy.
Well, yes, I know would you say that he would be a contender for the Scott Putski Award?
You know what's interesting, Way, is that this, usually I'm able to just hand out the award, but this one, there's actually candidates. So as we go through today's show, maybe we'll name a candidate. At the end of the show, we'll announce the winner. Val Venus is our first candidate for the Scott Putski Award. And, by the way, last week I did tease that at Scott Putski's story.
Yes.
And I never revealed it.
Well, you know what? Let's add something new. We did not talk about this the previous 2 times we did this podcast. Let's hear it.
It's not much of a Scott Putski story, other than one of the videos that was submitted was a Bill Goldberg squash match from Nitro where he squashes Scott Putski.
That's your story?
It was more just a mention, but that was it. I don't want people to be left on a hook and be anticipating something that I wouldn't deliver on.
You said you had a story.
It's something involving Scott Putski.
Why didn't you just say that last week, that there is a video submitted?
I forgot. I was going to tease it for later, for the contest.
All
right, so I noted in this match, Way,
me even more.
There was a pre-match promo by Val Venus. I forgot what he said.
He said,
"Hello, ladies. You know something, ladies? The Big Valboski figures that the remnants of Hurricane Floyd are still within the boundaries of North Carolina. Why? Because just this morning, the Big Valboski was blown from one end of the state all the way to the other."
Well, it was a little windy out here today.
Oh, very classy. I noticed there was this ugly redneck teen in the front row, Way, and he was wearing a wife beater, and this just looked like something out of Ready to Rumble.
I also noticed this group of people sitting in the front row. What I was noticing, though, was how annoying they were. This is the first match of the pay-per-view. These guys standing up, all the front row, standing up for the first good 3 matches of the show. If you're in the front row, there is no need to stand up.
Sit the fuck down.
You just want to be on TV in your wife beater. Why? Why?
During the match, Jerry the King Lawler noted that his upcoming movie, Man on the Moon, was about to come out, hence the word upcoming. And he said that Val Venus is also working on a movie, Way, called Man in the Moon.
Yes, would that be an anal flick?
I guess it could be, yeah. Val Venus could be interpreted either way. Maybe a male-on-male video, or maybe male-female.
A lot of male porn actors are known to do that, to make extra money.
Anal flicks?
No, gay porn.
Oh, yeah? Is there more money in gay porn than straight porn? I guess gay porn is more of a fetish market.
I guess it's another way for them to make money.
Interesting.
If you're a pro wrestler, there are pro wrestlers that also do MMA, or there are mixed martial artists that also participate in jiu-jitsu. This would be the same thing.
Completely different industries, though, to a degree. But I guess the principle is the same.
But they both involve half-naked or completely naked guys.
Val Venus hits the money shot for the victory. We should note Steve Lombardi was the referee for this match. The finish made very little sense, Way, because immediately after the match, Steve Blackman got all his heat back by attacking Val Venus with a kendo stick, and this caused security to come out, featuring Jim Dotson, the head of security, and the head EMT official, Barbara Bush.
Barbara Bush, yes, the registered nurse who occasionally wrestled bikini matches.
Mm-hmm. And she was actually the legit girlfriend of one Hardcore Holly.
Was she? Wow.
She must have been miserable. After the match, Blackman shoved Jim Dotson, and Jim Dotson responded by tackling Blackman to the ground. And it was almost as if they were teasing Jim Dotson working a program with Steve Blackman. Jim Dotson, for those the uninitiated, was this juiced-up security guard and the second nominee for the Scott Putski Award.
Oh, yeah. You know what? He thankfully had the shirt on. Otherwise, he would probably run away with this... This
guy looked massive, like he was like bursting out of his WWF Attitude shirt.
But nothing came of this push.
Backstage, we go with Michael Cole, who's with the Big Show, and Big Show asks, "Did you take your stupid pill today?" When Cole asked about the whereabouts of The Undertaker, who they did an angle on SmackDown that week, where he was taken out of the six-pack challenge because he was legitimately hurt. And this was September. He actually wouldn't return until May of the following year, Way. So Undertaker out of action in that. And then we go to a video of Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown. And it starts off with Michael Cole citing this passage from Webster's Dictionary.
Webster's Dictionary defines friends as one attached to another by affection or esteem. For years, D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry have been a perfect example of this definition.
And it tells the story of deceit and betrayal by Mark Henry to his close pal, D'Lo Brown.
Does it ever feel like every high school level broadcast journalism feature begins with a quote or a definition from Webster's Dictionary? Just seems like the most cliche thing you could do for a feature.
Well, sometimes they're cliches for a reason, Way. It's because they stand the test of time. And we go backstage. Lillian Garcia, who had just debuted for the company, Way, was already relegated to a backstage interviewer. If you recall her debut, it went something to the effect of, the following match is scheduled for 1 round. That was how Lillian Garcia started. She was horrible when she started.
Technically, she was right. They are 1 round.
1 very long round. If you're just tuning in, everyone, this is the Groundhog Day edition of Review-A-Wai, and I hope you're still tuning into this.
All these jokes we have told at least 2 other times.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much this podcast is reliant on me and Way's back and forth and the reactions of the other to what the other is saying. And once, you only get 1 chance at a legitimate reaction, and now we're going for the double here, the replay. And it's,
it sucks.
Hopefully you guys are enjoying this review as much as we are. So Lillian Garcia interviews Mark Henry. Mark Henry says, well, you know what I'd like to do? And he whispers into Lillian Garcia's ear, and then Lillian slaps Henry in the face. And then this leads to Mark Henry versus D'Lo Brown for the European Championship. Tom Pritchett is the referee. Mark Henry comes out and cuts a promo saying that after that slap to the face, he's contracted a brainurism, Way, and he won't be able to wrestle.
Yes. Brainurism.
This follows by D'Lo Brown coming out to ringside, and the match just begins anyway. And D'Lo Brown, Way, had his working boots on.
He really did, John. D'Lo Brown was so over at this point. He was probably at the pinnacle of his career, I would say.
Yeah, this was, he was a Vince Russo project.
Go ahead, just finish it. Let's go through this.
And obviously Vince Russo very high on D'Lo Brown, and he was getting over tremendously. I was a huge fan of D'Lo at this time, and this took place about 1 week before the Darren Drozdoff incident, and that was really the turning point of Brown's career because that happened, and Russo also left the company right around that same time. So it was kind of a huge blow to the career of D'Lo, and he never really recovered and was never at this level again, but looked really solid in this match. For a guy that size, delivering a plancha over the top rope to Henry, I mean, he was very athletic for his size.
He was fantastic, John. And yes, like you said, those factors definitely come into play without Russo there to push him, and also, obviously, the company not wanting to push a guy who just, who reminded everybody of this incident, but of the Draws incident. But think about the confidence issues that would plague a wrestler like D'Lo Brown following an incident like that too, John.
The storyline during the match that Jim Ross notes was that Mark Henry's blood pressure was reaching stroke-like levels. Mm-hmm. This made me worried, and it actually made me sympathetic for Henry in this match.
Yes.
I didn't want to see the guy die. D'Lo hit a sky high on Mark Henry. And then while Henry had D'Lo in the corner, he was on the second rope delivering punches. D'Lo delivered a power bomb and then hit the frog splash for the win. D'Lo Brown is your new European champion.
Yes, he is. D'Lo Brown is the new European champion. However, Mark Henry is still around to this day.
Yes, Mark Henry. Unbelievable this guy's lasted as long as he had. And my God, he looked tremendously different. I think he is way bigger than he was 10 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. So what's next?
We go to a WWF.com promo where there's a gentleman who leans over a computer and is then anal probed, and we get the tagline.
WWF.com, constantly probing behind the scenes to bring you inside information and the latest news of the WWF.
This type of humor was revolutionizing the industry at the time.
Oh, this was awesome. I think had the Attitude Era happened now, it would have been, I think, really lame.
Well, you know what? Considering the WWF's audience these days, it would do just as well, if not better.
I don't know.
Kids love this stuff, John. Always probing for news. You see a guy being anal probed. That's genius.
It's like the trailer for Man in the Moon.
Yes.
We go to an Acolytes promo backstage. They said that they already sent one ECW team packing, that being Public Enemy, Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge, who have both passed away. And then the promo ends with Chaz, formerly Mosh of the Headbangers, walking into the locker room, and the whole locker room attacks him and throws him out of the locker room. And we hear Jim Ross note that, well, we've heard the allegations of Chaz beating his girlfriend Mariana, who was part of his gimmick for the Beaver Cleavage character.
Yes, so here we are. The WWF has just basically shown us that the worst thing a man can do is to attack a woman, so much so that everybody backstage is just kicking this guy's ass, Chaz, just under the allegations that he has attacked a woman. Immediately following this segment, we go to Deborah being interviewed. Jeff Jarrett walks in, interrupts her, threatens to beat her up. And Jeff Jarrett, John, at this time, I don't know if you recall, but Jeff Jarrett had been working a woman beater angle at this point. He attacked everybody in the weeks leading up to this fight. He's attacked everybody from Moolah and Mae Young to Cindy Margolis to the WWF's makeup woman. So I don't know if you noticed that little...
Hell of a segue.
Yeah.
Hell of a segue. And the locker room did not throw Jeff Jarrett out. And in an interesting note here, we're going to go into a matchway that would have giant repercussions on the industry.
Really? How so?
Well, I'll get into it during this match. Which we go to Jeff Jarrett versus Chyna for the Intercontinental Championship. I just wrote on my notes, from locker room angle to this, awkward. Harvey Whippleman was the guest referee for this, the scab referee, if you may. Chyna was atrocious in this match. I thought her work was absolutely horrible. She tried to play Ric Flair, doing the spot where she was thrown into the ropes and tried to flip over. That was bad. Moolah and Mae Young eventually made their way out to stop Jeff Jarrett from using a guitar on Chyna. Why wasn't the locker room out to stop Jeff Jarrett from using a guitar on a woman?
You know what? I have no idea.
Moolah and Young get into the ring, and Jarrett starts selling for Moolah and Mae Young, and then they deliver a double suplex to Jarrett.
Yeah, they kick the shit out of Jarrett. But then Jarrett counters with a double clothesline on Moolah and Mae Young, and this had Lawler howling.
Jerry Lawler loved this.
He
thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Then Deborah came down to ringside, and I thought for sure we were getting the heel turn by Deborah, but no, she grabbed the guitar and knocked out Jarrett with the guitar. Chyna gets the pin. Everyone rejoices. Chyna is the first woman to win the Intercontinental Championship. But then Tom Pritchard runs down Way, and he informs Whippleman of the infraction. They show the instant replay of Deborah using the guitar, and Whippleman orders it a disqualification victory for your still Intercontinental Champion Jeff Jarrett. When was an instant replay rule invoked, Way?
I have no idea. Not only that, John, but previously in this match, Chyna clearly hits Jeff Jarrett multiple times with a steel chair in plain view of Harvey Whippleman's sight. So I have no idea why. This is obviously a very misogynistic referee, bias.
Now, wait, this match, I'm sure it's probably a match most people have forgotten, but here's a little interesting fact. Jeff Jarrett's contract with the World Wrestling Federation at this time was about to expire on October the 16th of that year, to be exact, which was a Saturday, and the next WWF pay-per-view was October the 17th on the Sunday. Oh. Now, most in the WWF were apparently not aware of this fact, and they scheduled Chyna to win the title at the following pay-per-view. However, in the week or so leading up, they realized, hey, Jeff Jarrett, his contract expires the night before, and he's not exactly contractually obligated to show up for the No Mercy event. And this caused Jeff Jarrett to end up holding up the company for something that was rumored to be about $250,000 to show up for this one match and drop the title to Chyna. So, in effect, had the WWE just had Jeff Jarrett drop the title at this pay-per-view, this problem would have been averted. Jarrett wouldn't have been booked on the next pay-per-view. Case closed. Jarrett goes to WCW. However, Jarrett not only got that money, went to WCW, and there was tons of heat with Vince and Jarrett over this, to the point that when WCW went out of business, they specifically didn't pick up Jarrett's contract over this, and Jarrett, that ultimately led to him starting TNA Wrestling. So in a weird way, had none of this happened, Jarrett's contract likely would have been absorbed by the WWE at that time. He wouldn't have had, a significant amount of cash that I'm sure went into starting up TNA, and you probably would not have got TNA had this match been booked for China to win the title.
You're right, John. So I guess you could sort of say that this match was the genesis of TNA wrestling.
This was the seed that was planted that would eventually blossom into the gigantic tree that is TNA wrestling.
There were some allegations, though, that perhaps Vince Russo, who at the time maybe knew that he was going to WCW at the time, purposely delayed this title change so that Jarrett would be able to keep it past his contract date. So, you know what? Take that for what you will.
Absolutely. And for Jarrett, I mean, it made total sense for him at the time to leave the company. If Steve Austin had previously stated he didn't want to work a top main event program with Jarrett, so when you have the top guy in the company, the top babyface doesn't want to work with you, and your main ally, and Vince Russo's leaving, made a lot of sense for Jarrett to leave at the time. But interesting little fact there. As we go to our next match, the Dudley Boys against the Acolytes. Jimmy Corderas crossed the picket line to referee this match, and why you would pick this match to cross the line, I have no idea, Way. But this was back when Bubba was still doing the stuttering gimmick, as they had just debuted after leaving ECW the prior month. I was not a fan of this gimmick.
No, me neither. I think it was so stupid. But the fact that he was an ECW guy, I think a lot of people still feel nostalgic for the Dudley Boys in this era. Personally, I don't think Bubba Ray did the stuttering thing well at all. I mean, if you compare it to be like Jimmy from South Park, for instance, who does it perfectly. I mean, he's a cartoon, but Bubba Ray just didn't seem to take his character seriously, and that disappointed me. You could tell that he wanted to be the badass. Like, that's who he actually wants to be.
Yeah, I was not a fan of this gimmick at all, and it's amazing kind of the power of ECW that some characters have or some gimmicks have where automatically the hardcore audience just accepts it that, oh, this is great because it's attached to that original ECW. And in some cases, that's just not true.
Well, yeah, it's like Pride, John. Remember?
The cult-like following.
Yeah.
I didn't write much for this match. Way I have on my notes, bad match, crowd dead. Finish came when Stevie Richards came in dressed as an acolyte with the UPN logo on his chest. What did he do? Delivered a
Super
kick.
kicks Devon.
And they get the victory. And then after the match, Farouk gave the Dominator to Stevie.
Who cares? Let's move on.
This match sucked. Then we cut to the back, and I could have sworn they were cutting to ODB, but it was actually Luna Vachon Way. And she was getting set for her hardcore women's title match against champion Ivory. Wow. What can you say about this match, Way? Ivory defending the championship. She put Luna into a photocopying machine. Then
this is a hardcore match, by the way.
Hardcore match, backstage. Then Luna hit a splash off a forklift on top of Ivory. Then we got a run-in by Tori, not Wilson, but the original Tori, who, what a tool this chick was, gets thrown into a box and is stuck there for the rest of the match. She played no part in this match. Ivory used a pole on Luna and got the victory. This was like 3 minutes. Total fill.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Lillian Garcia. And I want everyone to listen to this promo and see if Lillian Garcia was trying to do an accent here, because she sounds very Southern in this promo, even though she's Spanish.
Wow, what a fight. Now, Mae Young and Moolah, I got to tell you, some really good advice that I can give you is just to, I guess, stay out of Jeff Jarrett's business.
Stay out of Jeff Jarrett's business. He better stay out of ours.
That's right.
So that was Lillian's interview with Moolah and Mae Young, stating that Jarrett should... that they should stay out of Jarrett's business, and this led to Ivory attacking the fabulous Moolah, and Moolah responded by taking down Ivory to set up that feud, which would take place at the following month's pay-per-view.
Yes.
We then go to our next match. It's for the Tag Team Championships. The New Age Outlaws defending against Edge and Christian. This was kind of sad for Billy Gunn, because this was the signal that his singles run was not only over, but was a gigantic failure. If you remember, in 1999, he won the King of the Ring that year. He got a big match with The Rock at SummerSlam. And here he is 1 month after SummerSlam, repackaged with the Road Dogg. And they put the titles on them 3 days prior at SmackDown. And here they are against Edge and Christian, who, my goodness, looked like just white meat baby faces here. They were not heels yet. They just smiled. That was their gimmick.
Yeah. This was right before the 5 second, what is it, 7 second?
5 second pose.
5 second pose before they had all that stuff, before they were even given any chance to talk.
Billy Gunn looked enormous here, another candidate for our Putski Award. Lawler could not get over Moolah and Mae Young, and then announced, or asked Ross why he hadn't announced yet where Moolah and Mae Young played football. And then Ross comes back and says, "You didn't come up with that. I think someone's helping you in the back," which just confirms that it has been over a decade that Vince McMahon has been in every guy's ear and busting Ross's balls.
Yeah, well, that's got to be terrible. You must, to be Jim Ross or Jerry Lawler, you must hear Vince in your sleep by this point.
Not a great gig. Edge and Christian, they were subtly working his heels during this match, built to a hot tag for Billy Gunn. Then Matt Hardy and Gangrel ran in and attacked Christian. Jeff Hardy got on the top rope and drop kick Edge, and Billy Gunn then hit the Famouser on Edge to get the win. New Age Outlaws retain the tag team championships, and it spins off the Hardys with Edge and Christian, and this would lead to the start of their Best of 5 series, which would culminate in that big ladder match for them at the next month's No Mercy pay-per-view.
That's right. This was only 1 month from No Mercy, the Terry Invitational
The
Tournament.
Tit Tournament.
Tit.
Terry Invitational Tournament.
Now, we go into the main event of this pay-per-view.
Well, first we go backstage, Lillian Garcia with the British Bulldog and Triple H. And Bulldog apparently is working with Triple H. Mm-hmm. Cole's with the Big Boss Man and just states, "It's come down to this, a Kennel from Hell match." And that leads us to what Wai dubs the main event of Unforgiven, the Big Boss Man against Al Snow for the Hardcore Championship in a Kennel from Hell match with Al Snow defending the championship.
Mm-hmm. The backstory here is that Al Snow, who had a pet chihuahua named Pepper, Bossman kidnapped this chihuahua, skinned it, cooked it, and fed it to Al. Al Snow was so angry that he challenged Bossman to this stupid match. What this match is, it's a Hell in a Cell over top of a blue steel cage, and in between the cages there will be Rottweilers. And we're led to believe that these Rottweilers will be roaming freely around the ring, creating a very dangerous moat for the wrestlers to escape out of. And then to win, you had to escape both cages. The cage takes forever to be put up. Al Snow is just in there awkwardly. Finally, Bossman enters and the match begins.
You know what this match is exactly now, Wai?
What?
The Punjabi prison match.
Oh, you're right. It's the
exact same match, Wai. Only with the use of bamboo instead of a steel cage.
It makes you wonder if this one went so poorly, why would they continue to do that?
Yeah, maybe they just felt the Punjabi slant would be more appealing. They brought out the dogs on leashes, I might add. And then the dogs started peeing on the floor, Wai. And 2 minutes into this match, Jim Ross used a bowling shoe reference. And then he followed that up by stating this is one of the most unique matches I've ever seen. Snow did color in this match. Why, I don't know. Bossman would cut open the cell ceiling with bolt cutters. And then, I swear to God here, Wai, I fell asleep. And when I woke up, Al Snow's hand was raised. So maybe any holes you want to fill in, go for it.
Well, the problem here was that the dogs were all leashed, and they were all led by their handlers. So there was no danger of them attacking any of the wrestlers whatsoever. I mean, if the cameramen who were inside the cage with the dogs were not in any danger, why would Al Snow or Bossman be? Crowd was not into it at all. This was basically a sloppy hardcore match with some stupid, mindless climbing of the cages. At the finish comes when Bossman sits at the top of the cage, trying to climb out, while Al Snow takes a long time getting through the door of the cage. So, you had Bossman already up there on his way out, but Bossman had to wait basically for Al Snow. I hate cage matches for whenever they mistime it like this. It's fake as hell. If Al Snow wins, Bossman finally waits and then gets down. And then the dogs chase after Bossman, and a handler trips over his dog. And thus ends one of the worst matches in the history of professional wrestling.
And Ross announced this is the first and perhaps last Kennel from Hell match. A horrible match. And, I was going to contact Al Snow to come on to chat about this, but I really just didn't want to.
It's a bit tough, isn't it, getting these wrestlers to talk about their worst matches.
Hey, we want to talk about the worst match in your career. You have a few minutes?
Yeah.
We go backstage. Michael Cole is with Mankind, discussing the match tonight because obviously the Rock and Sock Connection are both going for the WWF Championship. Then from there, an announcement that if you send your cable bill to your local pay-per-view provider, we'll send you WWF The Music Volume 2, Volume 2.
Volume 2.
Which came out in 1997.
Yeah.
This was 1999.
I looked up the track list for that CD, and most of the people on that CD are not on the roster anymore. It's like guys like Bret Hart, Psycho Sid, whoever.
Yeah, this was not a CD worth going out of your way to get, even if it meant mailing with a stamp. Our next match, Chris Jericho against X-Pac. Hey, remember Mr. Hughes?
Yeah, I do remember no, I don't remember Mr. Hughes.
This guy, I don't know what the point of him was and why they paired him with Chris Jericho. He wore this ridiculous silver shirt and it was just Chris Jericho's muscle. Mm-hmm. Like, I understood Ralphus. This guy served no purpose. He added nothing to Chris Jericho.
Absolutely nothing.
Horrible. At this point, they were still trying to take the cage down, and Lawler noted that Moolah and Mae Young could take down the cage faster than these idiots. And then Jericho comes out, he cuts a promo. He says he's here to save Charlotte. And Ross notes that he should have come during the dog match. And then Jericho calls his pay-per-view horrible. And then they noted that X-Pac was taking the spot of Ken Shamrock, who was originally to face Chris Jericho on this pay-per-view. But this was when Ken Shamrock decided to go back to mixed martial arts and never returned to the WWE. And then Lawler went on this weird spiel about enlarged hearts when describing X-Pac, what a large heart he has. And considering the physiques on this show, this was a little odd.
Probably poor choice of words.
Ross noted that he wanted to see these two on pay-per-view for a long time, confirming that he didn't order any WCW pay-per-views. Jericho gets the heat after a springboard cross-body by X-Pac to the floor. There was a very long sleeper spot as someone was ejected, it seemed, and there were loud boos from the audience.
Yeah, I think what had happened was there was probably a woman flashing the audience at this time. It just completely ruined this match.
This was the end of this match because the crowd ruined the rest of this match. Ross called the crowd great. They were not. Jericho flipped into the ropes into a Tree of Woe spot, and then X-Pac delivered the Bronco Buster while Jericho was in the Tree of Woe. And my goodness, if this wasn't an outtake of Man in the Moon, this looked... And he was the baby face.
He was.
For wrestling fans, which are not the most acceptable of alternate lifestyles, they were into this spot.
The crowd loves the Bronco Buster. They loved the Bronco Buster at this time. You know what? They still love it. They still love it when Rey Mysterio does it for whatever reason. They love it. And you know what? This was the actual spot where Mr. Hughes saw it and he said... He did the Bronco Buster. That's enough.
That's enough.
He just runs in and attacks X-Pac, ending the match.
So after 13 minutes, you get a bullshit finish, which I believe was just called on the fly because this crowd was ruining this match. So they were probably just like, fuck this, we're not giving them a finish. Yeah. Road Dogg came out for the save and then delivered the worst clothesline in history when he attempted to deliver a clothesline to Chris Jericho over the top ropes and clotheslined him with his hand. There's a clothesline, and then instead of hitting him with the forearm, or the
perhaps he was inventing a new type of clothesline.
Oh yeah, the hand line, which sounds like some move out of Man in the Moon. The hand line. That brings us to the main event. Triple H, Mankind, Big Show, The Rock, Kane, and the British Bulldog for the six-pack challenge for the WWF Championship, the vacant WWF Championship. And first off, we get a video recapping this entire last month, with music from Fear Factory and System of a Down with their song Sugar.
Yes, that's right.
And you like this.
I like this.
From the quick cuts on this.
Well, yeah, that's part of the appeal, isn't
it? Let's recap just the month of TV leading into this pay-per-view. The last pay-per-view was SummerSlam, where Triple H faced Mankind and Steve Austin. Mankind won the WWF Championship. Then the next night, Triple H beat Mankind for the WWF Championship. Then Triple H lost the title to Vince fucking McMahon, who didn't even drop the title. He vacated the title to set up this six-pack challenge, and then they announced Steve Austin as the guest ring enforcer, who turned out to be the guest commentator for the entire match, while Jimmy Corderas crossed the picket line once again to referee this match.
Yeah, he was. This video package, the one that you were talking about before, what was interesting about it was that it told stories via title cards. Very obvious title cards.
Triple H angers Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon loses his cool. Vince fights Triple H. Vince wins title. Vince vacates title. Six-pack challenge announced. Six-pack challenge is next. Gotta say, if this was the best way to recap an entire month of WWF programming when a million angles were shot.
Yeah.
So at least I knew what was going on. Refs came down the ringside. The original refs who were striking came down to watch this match, I guess to get a ringside view. And we'll go, what do you want to do? Go right to the finish way? This was a very good match, I thought. Well, I'm not going to say a great match, but the crowd heat was definitely way above the last match.
It really starts to heat up after they sequence through each other's finishers. Show choke slams Mankind, and Corderas makes the count, but the other refs pull Corderas out at 2 and start beating up on Corderas. Austin leaves the commentary table and then beats down each referee individually. From this point on, he assumes the role of referee. The Rock delivers a people's elbow to Triple H for a 2 count.
And the crowd went mental when Hunter kicked out here.
Mental. Bulldog attacks Rock with the chair. Austin takes the chair and hits Bulldog, letting Hunter pedigree the Rock. Austin reluctantly counts the pin and awards Hunter his second WWF Championship.
And then after the match, Hunter got in Austin's face and got a stunner from Austin, so that sets up the main event for the next pay-per-view with Hunter defending against Austin, and that is the WWF Unforgiven pay-per-view. This morning I gave it a 6.5. I now give it a 4.
Oh, Jesus.
Because the second time was a chore to get through.
I actually kind of want to vomit at this point.
I do not want to talk about Unforgiven ever again.
Oh, man, yes. The pay-per-view had a decent end to it, but the rest of it was mediocre to shitty, and at this point I'd say more shitty. So I gave it a 5 earlier. I'll give it a 4 as well, John.
Repeat value was terrible.
No.
Just in recapping it.